Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you might be in the world. A little bit late tonight, a bit of a kerfuffle with the links, and that was my fault, all my fault, but there we go. Louis and Justin Oates from Droneworks Studios, and Bruce, who hasn't turned up, had a great idea for a new feature, and that new feature would be "Where Are They Now?" And Justin came to mind, but then he came to mind, top of mind again last week, because he did something rather exciting. But first, I'm going to ask Justin, any more news about your billionaire drone snatch job heist thing?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I guess that was 3 months ago or 3 months ago. I was on with you guys. Not a whole lot. The company that made the device actually contacted us. It did send us a bunch of paperwork, kind of like a white paper about how the system functioned, but they asked us to keep it private. So not a whole lot that we could share publicly, but it sounds like from what you guys know about the systems, just publicly available information, and most of it is kind of common knowledge. I will say they seem to function exactly as everybody else is suspecting. But yeah, nothing else. I mean, I didn't, Abramovich's guys didn't contact me and try to kill me or anything. And I haven't encountered him again. He's in the south of France now. I have some buddies in Cannes right now, so he's just off the coast. And maybe we'll see him soon. I don't know. But yeah, all good.
So you've not gone back to poke a stick at the bear, as it was. No pun intended that. Yeah.
Not yet. I do carry a Phantom with me almost everywhere I go, just for personal stuff. So if I do see him, or when I see him next time, I'll probably have a story for you. But for now, no, it's been we've been pretty slammed with regular projects in the U.S. So yeah.
Well, when you say regular projects, what you mean is really big things. One of the things that you did previously was lift young Mr. Neistat into the air underneath one of your machines. And I guess what's the day-to-day job for your big machines before we get on to Kitty Hawk? Is it lifting larger camera rigs, I guess?
Yeah, so our DroneWorks is pretty diversified. We operate a lot in the industrial sector as well as creative cinematography. So it kind of depends on who our client is for the day, and sometimes we have several clients throughout the day. But my day-to-day typically is maintaining drones. We have a whole inventory of drones of all shapes and sizes to fly cinema cameras and complex lenses, big industrial payloads. I have a bunch now. Since I'm on my phone, you can kind of see around my office a little bit. I got a bunch of different kinds kind of scattered around, but you know, that's like an octocopter for cinematography. This is one of our big cars that we use for industrial projects. Coaxial hexacopter. This is one of our big prototype frames that we're working on right now. So this is to fly a very big payload. So yeah, all kinds of stuff. I even have on the other side of our office here, this is way better on phone, by the way. On my laptop last time, I was stuck at my desk. But on the other side of my office, you can actually see this is, we have it hung on the wall here. So this is actually the big Casey drone that we flew. Let's see if you can see that. But
yeah, we can see that.
Yeah, so creative cinematography for clients of all kinds. Like I said, industrial clients as well as, you know, TV commercials, films, whatever. But we have all types of crazy, weird stuff coming up too. That's one-off. So
I'm quite intrigued. How do people get to you then? How do people that know they need a bespoke? We're already not talking about topic. We've already gone off topic. Anyway, but how do people get to you that kind of know they need a bespoke system?
Yeah, it's word of mouth. So we don't do any sort of business development or sales. We do have a social media footprint, and a lot of marketing people and brands find us or are aware of us through social media. But for the most part, it's word of mouth. All of our clients, it's unusual that we'll do like one project with a client and then move on. We usually do partnership deals. So like we'll partner with Nike for their winter campaign, or we'll partner with Adidas for their new shoe, or we'll partner with Samsung for the new device, that kind of thing. So it's all relationships, and we've been in business almost 10 years now. So it's just knowing people for a long time and doing a lot of good work over years and years and years.
Justin, just a quick question. So my 9-to-5 company, ProDrone, is also on the industrial side of the drone business. how do you guys manage the portability of batteries when you have to do jobs out of town?
Yeah, great question. In fact, the majority of our work is not in Texas. We're based in Texas, and a huge portion of it's not in the United States. So battery shipment is complex depending on what country we're going into and working at. But we basically have a team of people at Droneworks that just deals with logistics and shipping. Sometimes it's a matter of getting licenses. Sometimes it's a matter of just paying for hazmat shipments. It depends on, again, what country we're going to. Inside the United States, we usually will truck them. Sometimes, depending on the payloads, we can split the batteries into small enough capacities under 99 watt hours. So, we'll use, a bunch of 4,500 milliamp hour 6S batteries instead of, fewer 10,000 milliamp hour 6S batteries, to give you an example. But some of our systems, we have a big drone here that's a 140 volt system, uses hundreds of pounds of lithium polymer batteries, and we have to ship those by truck. So we don't do projects with that type of drone in Europe or Africa. We'll do it in North America, South America, wherever we can get a truck. So we just did a big project in Mexico, and we just hire an 18-wheeler and drives it down there.
Yeah, no, I thought there was a better solution. It's basically what we do. We just try to go to smaller batteries and live with it.
Yeah, exactly. It's a pain. It's gotten a lot better. Our team's gotten better at it, and also a lot of the regulatory agencies and the airlines and the airspace authorities, they know us because we travel so much with this stuff. So it's gotten better. I mean, we just had a big struggle coming out of Mexico where they tried to seize all of our stuff, which hadn't happened in a long time. That just happened about a month ago. But again, we have all of our paperwork. Everything gets approved. It's just usually we get hung up somewhere with 12 people arguing about whether or not it's okay.
A bit of too much red tape from some obscure worker at customs. That's usual.
Exactly. Exactly.
That is what it is, though. Whatever you do, isn't it? If you travel internationally and you're doing anything,
no, and there's something that is good for Justin and also for me, which is the new rules that were approved by the European Parliament concerning equal drone rules all over EU. Let's see how well it goes, because at the moment it's a real hassle to get someone to fly from wherever to another country. It's a big problem. Well, let's hope that the rules get better on the EU. At the moment, you must know that, because every country has different rules. If you have jobs in two countries, you'll have to get a lot of paperwork.
We work in Europe a lot, probably second only to the United States and South America. And it's a pain. I mean, just simply working, we'll very often work in Italy, France, like the regular, Germany, over and over again. And I mean, you just, you drive 5 hours into another country and it's a whole new set of rules and red tape, and France in particular is just a nightmare, and it's still a nightmare. We have numerous big clients there and big projects there, big budgets. I mean, things that are great for the economy and the people and the brands, and like everybody wants it. And then you call the regulatory body and it's just like, it's insane. So, but it's what it is.
No, some countries it's almost impossible to get a foreigner to operate there. France is such a place. Denmark is also not so easy. It really depends on the countries. And have you had a chance to have a look on the new regulations, Gary? I just read the big titles. Didn't have time to go through all what was approved by the European Parliament.
Well, yes, and I kind of did the same as well, because I spent a little bit more time looking at the American scientific study that said the FAA needs to quieten down a bit, and it's not as bad as everybody thinks. I can't remember the name of that. I'll have to look on the site of the scientific lot that did it. So I had a little look at that, but I'll look at it all tomorrow. And also I've been reading about some or finding out about a a BV lost flight, which may not be as impressive as press releases have suggested. But I'll try and unpack that tomorrow and find out if the rumours are true. Because if the rumours are true, it's quite spectacular. But anyway, we'll find out tomorrow. But look. We've got Justin here, and Justin. So we've determined that the Russians aren't after him again yet. But what piqued my interest this week was the Kitty Hawk Aero, Kitty Hawk Corporation Aero and Cora. And you went off with Casey Neistat to a secret location, which I may have found on Google Earth, because you can't keep large bodies of water secret. Yeah. Anyway, but it's a good idea. What I like about that most is if you look at their videos, you can see how they've improved the infrastructure from their early models. Not the aircraft itself, but like, now they've got a really nice shed and all that sort of thing. It was just a slipway before. But anyway, how was it? I'm ranting. Tell us about it. Tell us about the training. Tell us what you can. Is it really 2 GPS on the nose of that thing? What was I seeing there?
It is, yeah. Good eye. It was the first thing I noticed too when I got in the cockpit of it. I guess the first thing is, and you kind of noted it with the site development and improvement. The thing that I got is that they're improving dramatically over time. So when I say dramatically, they're making big gains every 6 months or so. They, in fact, told me that about every 6 months, the aircraft is almost completely different. I mean, they obviously are just tuning it and changing, but they're going through different motor combinations and speed controllers and battery systems and charger systems and all of that stuff. So it's improving. That's the most interesting thing for me, because this is really just the beginning. To see where this is going to go with the kind of budgets they have in 5 or 10 years is really, really exciting. Everybody was really professional and positive. They obviously were, they were front and center for a big audience. So they put their best foot forward, I think, with showing us a good time and giving us access and all that. They did give me more access than they gave CNN or Casey. They let us shoot the interior of it and actually get into the controls a bit. They wouldn't let me see all of the power system. I really wanted to dig into the chassis. And they have a facility in Mountain View, California. They've invited me there. We're going to go in a couple weeks to go actually get more into the engineering side of it. So I'm excited. They're going to share more. I don't know to what extent they're going to let me share or whatever. I signed an NDA where I can't share certain stuff, but most of the information they've been really good about releasing publicly, all up weight and propeller size. And you can kind of deduce a lot of the missing pieces from just simply having some aeronautical or multi-rotor knowledge. The thing is, it really is just a very large multi-rotor. It's very similar to what we built in the past. There wasn't really any amazing innovation or revolutionary technology that I saw that was just made this just a huge leap forward. The real innovation, I think, is the effort they're putting forth to actually turn this into a service. So what they're doing with the Federal Aviation Administration in the United States and what they're doing with other government airspace authorities, I mean, they're actively campaigning to get these into service. We can build a great multi-rotor. A lot of people can. I mean, I'm sure you give you guys a few $100,000, you can come up with something that'll do something similar. But it's actually the infrastructure and service to make it usable by the mass market that was most interesting to me. On the technical side, like you said, there were 2 GPS antennas on the front. There was a 5.8 video transmitter on the back with rubber ducky antennas. I don't think I can say, but let's just say they use a regular RC control for a lot of their telemetry information. I mean, it's just a big multi-rotor. Now, one of the big things is, unlike what we build at Droneworks, which are these one-off aircraft, they're mainly just controlled by me or maybe one other person. They had a whole flight team. So they have a control tower, it's a mini control tower like you have at a normal airport. It even resembles a control tower. It's a circle. And, there's 5 or 6 engineers in there and flight control experts that are monitoring battery performance and thrust numbers and all that stuff live while the aircraft's going. They do... in flight, they really limit what the aircraft can do. There's no geofencing or anything, which surprised me. So if you wanted to just fly off, you kind of could, if you had a crazy, a Casey Neistat behind the controls.
You could fly off, but then you'll have to return by foot because you won't have battery enough to return, probably.
Yeah, that was one thing that I don't know if it came across in the videos. The batteries are built into the aircraft and they can't be switched. So they're like permanently in the aircraft. And so what they do is they just switch aircraft whenever they run out. So like you do 1 10-minute flight. The way it worked is we'd have a flight, like a test flight professional, fly for 5 minutes, go up, make sure everything's performing correctly, land, then Casey would get in, fly for 5 minutes, land, switch aircraft, do the same thing over and over again. So they had, I didn't count, but maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe six of them there in a hangar, 5 or 6. But they're all identical, aside from the paint job on a couple of them. That was a little different. But overall, it was a great experience. Really friendly people, very excited about the tech. And I should say more so excited about the use case and like how they're actually going to get these in the hands of people to be able to be transported around. Obviously, they've got huge hurdles. The FAA is, as you guys know, a real, can be unpleasant to deal with when you're experimenting, essentially. The amazing thing to me is that because, and Gary, I watched your little recap of the flyer from a couple weeks ago or whenever that was, and you made a statement in there that was just as amazing to me as it seemed to be to you, but this manned aircraft is less regulated than a Mavic. Which is absolutely insane. When Casey called me about this, I was like, there's no way we're allowed to fly this thing. Like, there's no way. I have to go to Mexico or Argentina to do anything, or Canada, And I'm like, dude, there's no way this is happening. Like, it's going to be indoors or there's going to be something. And I get out there and started talking to them about it. And they said, yeah, because it's under 250 pounds, because it's classed as an ultralight, because, they gave me I study unmanned all day and night for years and years, but it never occurred to me that you can just go out there and
that is just it's all the best ideas and simple ideas are obvious as soon as you've seen them. And as soon as it says it's 103, I thought, of course.
Exactly. And now we've got, of course I come back and we have no interest in we would never compete against Kitty Hawk or anything they're doing or try to sell aircraft or anything like that. But the first thing we did when we got back is say, we've got to put a cockpit on one of these things. I mean, I have this stuff sitting right there, you know what I mean? Literally ready to go. And I told the guys, I was like, it might cost us 10 or 20 grand to put a cockpit on it. And anyway, so we might mess with that. I can't believe it. I mean, I fight with the FAA, or not me personally, but our company fights with the FAA weekly. I mean, literally weekly, all over. And the fact that we went out there and it was, there were no there were no inspectors. The flight standards district office didn't need to be notified. Nothing. We just okay, turn it on, we're going. There's no notification, TFR. There's none of that. You just on. So when we built Human Flying Drone, a lot of people don't know this. The big one that we flew Casey with in Finland. To test that, we wanted to test in the United States because we didn't want to just fly over there and hope it worked. We had to rent a sports stadium. Literally, we rented a sports stadium in Texas and to test it because the FAA wouldn't let us even stake to the ground, tethered. They would not let us take off. And we went out there.
That was under 250 pounds, wasn't it?
Well, that was the argument. So all up, it's 365 with the passenger, and we wanted to test that at the all up weight, and it's a crazy deal. Now, if we rigged it the way we wanted to, we could get under 250, but I don't know. It's kind of all a gray area. Is it 250 with or without the passenger? How does that work? You know what I mean?
Usually it's all up.
Right. I agree. But Casey weighs 200 pounds. I mean, the aircraft all up is more than that. I discussed it with them, and they said, well, it's kind of that kind of thing.
I think So even in the ultra, even in the Part 103 world, people take doors off, they take stuff off, they take the fire extinguisher out. It's 250 pounds at the station when you weigh it, and is that how you really fly it? Exactly. It is a very grey area, but a clever dodge.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing that I asked them, the first thing I saw or thought when I saw all the RC equipment. It was basically one of our aircraft. There was nothing out of the ordinary that I could see. And I asked them, I said, so how much dummy weight flying have you done? Because me being a builder, the first thing I do is load it with shop bags, like basically steel sandbags, strap it all down, and then you fly it until it fails. So you can find where the failure point is, see how it performs. You know what I mean? Like you want to crash with dummy weights, not a human. And the first thing they said is, well, we can't fly it RC. And I got to thinking about it. They cannot, so they can put a person in and test it, but they can't put a dummy weight in and fly with Futaba. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's the contradiction of the rules.
Yeah.
So kill yourself, but don't fly it unmanned.
Right. That's exactly right. That amazed me.
But that might also I had to think that through a little bit. And by the way, I've had an email from Bruce. He isn't feeling very well. I hope you get well soon, Bruce. What was I going to? And yeah, I'll something about you in a minute, Bruce. But that might be a dodge. That might be another Part 103 dodge. That might be in there. Having the ability to control it from as an RPA might move it out of. I don't know. I think you'd have to look at that. That might be a dodge, because otherwise that just seems remarkable. So do they have the ability then, if you're allowed to say it, to take control of it if there's an in-flight issue from the ground control station?
Great question. They do. I mean, so to your point, they do have RC control. Uh-oh. I think, Gary, I just lost you. You still there?
Yeah, I believe. But go on. I believe he dropped. He froze.
I'm back now.
Oh, nice. So they, as I mentioned before, they don't have a geofence system. So you could just fly away if you wanted. And Casey, being kind of a crazy guy, a stunt type guy, said, okay, well, I'm taking it back to the strip. Like, I'm going to fly over the mountain and go. And they said, well, we do have a freeze button. So essentially what they have is like an auto hover, you know what I mean? Like a fail safe, like you stop the aircraft and it just hovers. So they do have like a fail safe system. I didn't discuss with them a return to home option, but they did have a fail-safe in the control system where you could intentionally cause it to crash into the water. And it's built on pontoons. And also there is a safety boat there and divers and the whole thing like around us the entire time. So yeah, technically you're right. I mean, they do have RC control. I don't know how that works. If you put a body in it, can you fly it remotely? I don't know.
If the pilot can override it, it's Part 103, right?
Yeah, good point.
If the pilot as an authority, it's Part 103.
There'll be something in there. There'll be something in that little mix that makes it legally or whatever. And the other thing I noticed, and it's probably just the people they had flying it, which is probably the CNN lady in their release video, is the nose did seem to take a long time to follow around a corner. So it doesn't. Does it have rudder pedals, or is it two sticks? Is it a transmitter that's just been broken in half and put into two sticks?
It was very well concealed in a carbon fiber monocoque thing that they built. But no, the controls. Actually, I have something here that's really similar. This is I don't know, can you guys see this?
Oh, yeah.
So this is a controller we use for cinema cameras, the point cinema cameras. Let me get a better light on this.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of funny, when I took control of it, I looked down and I'm like, wow, this is exactly what we use for. So it's this right here. So
yeah, and rotates also.
Do you twist it for yaw then?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
So
that's all the RC LE one stick command.
The 3D pilots, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And then on the left, so it's one stick for pitch, roll, and then yaw as a twist. And then on your left hand is throttle. It's just like a dial, a spring-loaded dial switch, and it's all relative control. So like, it's like flying, like you said, a Mavic or something, where when you give it throttle, it's not linear. It's just relative. So if you give it half throttle, it'll just climb to a fixed altitude and hover. And if you push down, it'll descend to a fixed altitude and hover. So really easy to fly. It did yaw really well. I mean, it's just really like the rates are turned way down. It's like a bus. It's just really slow and steady and confidence inspiring.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. If you have someone on board and have someone which they don't know how will handle the system. So
yeah, exactly.
Just tone it down.
But then, as with your pilot head on, then because I know you are a pilot, Justin, was it so what a manned aviation pilot head rather than an RPA pilot head? Was it counterintuitive, or do you not count because you have so much RPA experience? I suppose.
Was it counterintuitive to fly? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, because I don't know. I think
No,
I would want pedals and a stick, but anyway.
no, it was. Yeah, no, it's a good point. I didn't even really think about that, and I guess that means it was very intuitive. That it never, like, control never occurred to me as being an issue. It wasn't confusing. It was very natural. When I first saw it and I saw everything's on one stick, it immediately, I was like, I don't know about this. But basically, what you do, it's like seriously, I keep going back to this. It's like flying a Mavic. You know, if you take off in a Mavic and you put it into a hover and you don't touch the throttle again, I guess aside from the yawing, and you just kind of like push forward a little bit and it goes forward and it'll stop, and push back and it'll stop. It's the same thing, but even steadier because it's so big. It flies just like our big aircraft, where it's just got so much mass that it's very smooth. Like you're just like, it's just very, very smooth and steady. Also, we had perfect conditions in Vegas out there at that time of the morning. There's no wind. I'm really curious to see how it handles wind.
Did they state any cap on the wind velocity to operate it?
I didn't ask them that. I should have, and I will when I see them in a couple of weeks. But when we arrived the day before to do our training, it was maybe 10, 15 knots, not like extremely windy, but not calm. And they said it was too windy to fly because there was a chance we were going to fly that day. So I imagine anything other than perfect conditions at this point, they're probably not going to operate it. Now, what it's capable of, I've flown our big ones of similar size. We have an aircraft with 60-inch propellers. The Flyer has 47-inch propellers. So we have aircraft that have, this is a 42. So we have this is a 42, and then we've even got some with these big, this is a 30 hex prop. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
But we've flown 70-kilo payloads like that in a 20-mile-an-hour wind, and it's fine. So I think it can handle it. It's just, at this point, they're very cautious. And, they're trying to protect their public image and keep it safe.
Building data, but they have built a lot of side area, haven't they, with those pontoons and everything. By operating over water, they've made themselves have a requirement to have flotation, and so they've given themselves a lot of side area. Are the batteries in those pontoons?
I don't know. I was dying to look into this thing. I'm so curious where they wouldn't tell me. So I don't know. I asked them all kinds of questions, and a lot of time, and they were extremely friendly and gracious and great to be around. Like, don't get me wrong, they weren't like weird and like creepy or anything. But I did ask them a lot of stuff that they clearly hadn't been asked before. Or, they essentially be like, well, I don't know.
I don't know if you saw Gary. This week there was an article about the Tesla batteries, how much better the Tesla batteries are regarding the other manufacturers. So, and the improvements were significant because there's, the Tesla LiPo batteries that are used on the Teslas. That's the controversy that there is, that Mercedes-Benz says it's impossible for the truck to perform like Tesla says. And everybody is looking at the Tesla batteries. So perhaps we'll have to start going after Tesla batteries to our drones.
And do you know what I'd like? Absolutely. When you go back there, Justin, can you ask them to release that simulator to the wild so people like me at home can have a go? Because immediately I thought, why can't I have a go at that?
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's one thing that we didn't film a lot of for some reason. I think we were just like in the moment, just kind of glazed over it. But that simulator was awesome. It was the best part because it was the only real innovation, the only thing that I hadn't really seen before. I mean, I've seen simulators, but this thing had haptic feedback, so the seat vibrated, and like when you yawed, you could feel. When you yaw a big multi-rotor, you can hear different motors spinning faster and slower. Like it's hard to describe, but if you've heard it, you can hear it like speed up. And it did that. Like you could hear the motor spinning on different sides. So it was a very, very good simulation. And it was extremely confidence inspiring because they modeled it exactly off the environment. So it had the correct dock, and the mountain or the hills were the exact same, and the water level. I mean, like, so it really was a great sim. I think that's going to be a huge part of this. If they're trying to get thousands of people into these aircraft, you have to make them comfy. And that sim did great. I mean, I was in that simulator for probably 15 or 20 minutes. And I felt, I mean, within 20, I mean, I know what I'm doing, of course, but I imagine somebody who had never done it or had any experience, like realistically 30, 45 minutes in that simulator. And it's really confidence inspiring. Really cool stuff.
And it seemed they had it, so they had that, and then they tipped you upside down into the ball thing. And all I can think of is when you ever go to a children's party, you never get into the wet ball pit. But yeah, it tipped you upside down into that, and so they had everything very, very well lined up to have you safe and prepared, and that impressed me. I don't think we've seen anything like that. Well, we've barely seen manned multi-rotors, have we? But I can't think of a thing with such thought out training procedures in our world, unless you know of something.
Right. Well, the only thing that I've seen that really compares to this, I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. I'm sure you are, but the EHang product, or EHang 184.
Yeah, the one that
184.
they're flying in China, Hong Kong.
That's right.
Somewhere. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, a small province outside of Beijing. But the thing with the EHang is that it's fully autonomous. There's no pilot, so you just sit in there, and you essentially GPS tag your location, and it flies there. The Kitty Hawk project is piloted. You don't just put a destination, it goes. It's intended for a pilot to operate, and
also,
so that's why
these days it's quite easy to just plug in some autonomous capability on one of those systems. So it's just 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's already built into the system with their fail-safes and everything. I mean, I'm sure it's just a matter of, like you said, putting coordinates in and going. But they're intending it to be flown, not to be just a pod that takes off and lands at the next location. So I think it'll probably start off as like a recreational thing, probably on water. They're doing a program where you can buy, like they're selling them, pre-selling them, but it's really, partners of the founders and just trying to get it out there. I don't know when that's going to happen. There's some big liability stuff to deal with. I mean, the propellers intersect the cockpit. I mean, you're protected by a carbon fiber shell, but still, I mean, if that thing flips over, it could be wild.
I did notice when Casey landed, he put his arm, yay, it's great. And I thought, whoa, don't do that, Casey.
You weren't the only one. The whole safety team, I was on comms with everybody, and we were talking, and the whole safety team goes, no! I mean, the same thing. And to be fair, the CEO, Sebastian, his first flight, he did the exact same thing. He landed and just threw his, and there's a picture of him. I think they put it in some of the press materials with his hands up, and he had just landed. So yeah, that's a common thing. And then they all come down to the water and clapping, and they make a whole event out of it. I mean, it's fun. It's a really cool thing. I was talking to Casey the whole time on comms and telling him like what to do, or not telling him, but saying like, dude, you should go over there, that kind of thing. And it was just like, it's so fun. It's like a big kid's toy. I can't wait to hear what they're going to be selling them for. I'm just dying to know if they're, because it's got to be $100K plus. I mean, I'm totally speculating. They didn't tell me anything, but it'll be really interesting to see if they're going to subsidize it in the short term to try to build momentum, or if they're going to, I don't know. We'll see.
And sorry, Gary. What real life autonomy was experienced?
Well, I mean, it depends on, I guess, your definition of autonomy. The aircraft is
in terms of flight time.
Oh, you can fly for. I mean, I think we were doing 11 minutes or something. 10, 11 minutes. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. So 10, 11 minutes at what kind of top speed?
Hover, basically.
Yeah.
Well, we never reached 20 for sure.
Okay.
I didn't see, horizontal meter per second or anything like that, but it was more of just like a cruise around. Now, the maneuvers are very dramatic, and there was some altitude dip on really hard yaws, which we see in large multirotors often. So there were some characteristic, extreme heavy lift multirotor like flight behavior, But yeah, it was about 10 minutes in a hover. And they were just like we do with our big aircraft. We land with a ton of battery. You know, we'll land with 40% of our battery left just for safety. So I don't know what the limit is. They said 20 minutes. I imagine based on our experience, it's probably a little less than that. But there's a lot of stuff I don't know. Like I don't have the exact weight. I don't know. You know what I mean? They keep a lot of that stuff private for obvious reasons. So
Yeah.
And I think you mentioned to me that you might be having a chat with them about because the other interesting project is in Bruceland, which is Cora, which is and I think for me, so when you talk to them, do us a favor, find out about the propellers because so far those look the most. The propellers they have on the Aero look, shall we say, fairly standard.
They are.
Of that size, but the ones on the Cora, they look a bit different. So I'd like to find out about them. Find out, won't you?
Yeah, I will. They have one of them. They're flying in New Zealand, but they're doing the design work here, and the aircraft is actually in Mountain View, California, at their facility. So, like I said, they invited us to come check it out and go through training for that as well. Like, they have a full sim for it. So yeah, I might have to get back on or see what they let us share. But yeah, it'll be cool. We'll film. They said come. We became kind of friendly. They were awesome. Their creative team is really great. Everybody there. The engineers were great. It was a really good experience. So we'll go out there and have some fun and learn more about it. It's really cool. Pretty cool stuff.
So is it something that we'll see V1, considering this will be a V0.9?
Yeah, it's a good question. They did also say we basically flew into Vegas and flew out, like, I think we were there for 30 hours or something. Like, it was like our schedules are crazy, so we had no time. But they said, come back in 6 months. They'll tell us, obviously, and they'll have a new version of the aircraft, and it'll fly better, faster, stronger, more safe, like fewer constraints. They limited our altitude to 10 feet, which is a major bummer. You know, the first thing you do when you get confidence in something like this is want to just full throttle, and they really
go up.
Go
up to see the views.
Exactly. 30, 40, 50 feet is a huge leap from where we started. So the hope is that we get there, and I'm sure we're going to film a lot more of it. Casey had a blast. So yeah, we'll see where it goes. I'll keep you posted or shoot me an email and be interesting.
Aren't these kinds of vehicles some kind of stunt, considering that we don't see a good evolution on the propulsion systems and the power systems? Unless we go with something radical, I don't see those things, because flying even for 15 minutes on a vehicle like this, it's just go around the corner, to buy a pack of milk, and perhaps be lucky to come back.
Yeah, exactly. You're exactly right. For it to be a viable transportation solution, like you said, there needs to be a revolution. I say revolution. There needs to be a technological leap in battery. Yeah, and battery, I don't know, something.
I don't know if it's battery. I don't know if it's battery.
Yeah, neither do I. But we need to lift more grams per watt for a longer amount of time, all that stuff. So, but like I said, for now, and I talked to them about this, they don't have any illusions about this. Like, they're going to open up a taxi service next month and we're all going to be transporting across the Hudson or whatever. They're just like, this is the first step and we're going to keep moving. And in 6 months, it's going to be better. In 6 months after that, and then we do that, 2-3 years, who knows? I think it's going to start, like I said before, with recreation. So, it is cool and it was fun to fly. And if you can find an insurance company willing to cover the exposure, and you have, somebody, one of Larry Page's partners with enough capital to invest to basically have a fun side project, I could see something like this happening in like a fenced off area at a lake somewhere. And it's like some kind of motorsport experience. In the US, we have all kinds of stuff like that. So I don't know. We'll see though.
And then you're gathering tons of data with real people driving the thing. You're gathering tons of data, and when you move up, and as power systems catch up and other stuff catches up and goes where we want it to go, you've got data about how people really use the things. I think it's very sensible. rather than just arriving with a wig and a transport everybody everywhere. Uber put out Uber Air put out a video today, and it just looks like it's a twin-engine multi-rotor, and people get in and they go to the top of a building and fly off. It's just, well, hang on a minute, that's a helicopter. We already have that. That already exists.
Yeah.
Well, you know, where's
that's the point. I see those kinds of vehicles when we have those very small helicopters like the Robinsons or even where those kinds of multi-rotors fit, because it's just a matter of having more propellers than an R-22.
It is, it is, but Part 103 means, of course, you've that's the clever bit. It means you've got out of the need for your pilot's license and the registration on the thing. So that's a clever dodge. I could use my mate's house. I live on a lake. They can send one to me. I live on a dam. But my mate's house is on the other side, and it's 25 kilometers away. If I have to drive, it's 25 kilometers, about 400 meters straight across the lake. You know, I could.
Well,
of course, I can.
Get a dolly cable, so you can ship things back and forth.
My neighbor has one of those, and it goes out. It's a shipping pallet under a wire, and it goes as a cliff just back over there. And it goes out. He goes straight out over a cliff on a pallet. But anyway, that's another thing. Yeah. So that does exist here, but I'm not brave enough. I am not brave enough to go. Oh, there's XJet deleted the free adult dating message. Yes, I did. Sorry, Bruce. I hope you're feeling better. Bruce is there in text. Well, who knows? I mean, it might not be Bruce, and he's probably not coming on because I don't know if you saw. I wanted him to test fly. Did you see? There's another one for you to go off and do, Justin. Did you see that dart, the quad, where you stand in? I shall put a link in in the chat here, and I had volunteered Bruce to go off and fly this. But then straight away he doesn't want to play. It's outrageous.
Well, we're gonna make one, so it's literally just a matter of time, probably a couple months, maybe less, just depending on if we can use something we already have. But we're just gonna put a pod underneath one of these. We have the aircraft, we have the propulsion system, we have all the engineering done. It's just literally we have to make a pod and put a seat in it. And for once, I'll actually get to fly. I hate, I don't get to do any of the fun stuff because I'm the pilot, actually driving the damn thing. So, we'll make something, and we'll see how it goes.
I don't know if you guys remember, but a couple of years ago, there were some Spanish guys that did a production of having a girl flying, hanging onto RC helicopters.
Yes.
The single rotors. Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah.
So if your multi-rotor does have the capability, just get some cables and a chair under it and fly it.
No. Well, the thing is, we've flown people, of course, and payloads under with a rope, essentially, lots of stuff. And I do that because it's easy, because the payload doesn't really affect the aircraft. The aircraft can pivot and move. Yep. But we haven't experimented much with a hard-mounted payload because of the natural pendulum effect that you end up with. So, but I didn't realize that 103. I didn't realize this loophole, and until this Kitty Hawk project, I had no clue. So this for me just opened up a whole thing. I have sitting this frame is almost ready to go. Look at this. So this is like a 7-foot wide hexadecacopter frame, and this is the landing gear we're using, and it's already load-bearing part of the structure. So all we'd do is essentially raise this up a couple more feet and then put a seat in there, and we're good to go. So we have some pretty simple things we have to do. I'm going to do it, and I don't know where the hell we're going to fly it. But
the dynamics will be easy because we'll have the tendency of self-stabilizing if you get the pivot way down.
Right.
So,
yeah, I think you're right. We're going to find out, though. I'll like I said, I'll let you know whenever it comes together, and we can.
Well, let's just think about it. EHang and Workhorse both have have the payload underneath the aircraft, and now these guys are on top, aren't they? They're the other way around. So I wonder if how they have arrived at that decision.
It depends on where the batteries are, because the batteries are going to be.
Yes.
So if the batteries are below, then you have it.
The batteries they're definitely below. We just don't know where. And when although the pod is like, it looks like it's on top of it, you're sitting like in between the propellers. The propellers are at waist level, so it's really like center balanced. So you're like, the bulk of your mass is actually beneath or at the level of the propellers, and then the batteries are at the bottom. Clearly, I just don't know if they're in the pontoons or if they're in the main chassis section. I don't know where the speed controllers are. And there was also no cooling, so they must have some kind of active cooling system. It's 105 degrees in Vegas.
No water cooling. No water cooling using those.
You're not in water. I mean, they could have it. I mean, they didn't tell me, and I couldn't see.
They're
it's
not.
all enclosed.
Yes, you're not.
Yeah, you're not in water. You're on a dock. So they have something. I didn't hear fans or anything like that. So it very well could be oil or water, some kind of liquid cooling
or
system.
nothing. Because if they're
There's
flying
a chance,
for so little time, you just let it rise till almost melting. We've seen some endeavors that will go, don't cool it.
Yeah, I've blown up numerous speed controllers and motors and batteries.
Yeah, we've all been there.
So. Yeah. No fun.
So, and is Cora also then the one that's in Bruce's Wood of the Neck? Is that also designed to be driven, as it were? That because everyone's jumped onto here's the flying taxi with this one,
right.
which plainly it isn't, or flying car, right. which I don't get at all because it's not a car in any way. But is Cora more designed to be driven, do you think?
No, it's more of an autonomous aircraft. Okay. It is driven. It has the same control system, but it's a VTOL, well, you guys are aware, it takes off as a multi-rotor and turns into a plane. So the control of it is a little bit more complex. So it's autonomous, or it's intended to be more autonomous. We're going to know a lot more about it soon, and they're releasing more and more. But that they're trying to turn into, like you said, taxi service, turn it right into a taxi service. The Flyer is, at this stage, more of like I said, a recreational experiment. They're very gung-ho on turning it into a transportation service. So that's their goal. I want to be clear. They're not trying to turn this into a fun thing that rich guys can buy and go have a good time. They're designing it to be transportation. But I think everybody understands that, at least in the United States, we're years off. We're at least a couple of years minimum. That's incredible changes in the regulatory environment.
Will FAA be going to close the loophole they're using?
I wonder very quickly, I should think, if there's any worry about it.
I talked to them about, not that specific question, but I talked to them about their relationship with the FAA. And they said that they're basically, they're just being very positive. They're putting their best foot forward, and they're trying to drum up so much positive interest in this so that society kind of accepts it, that it gets so much momentum that the FAA is they have no choice but to make this work. Kind of with what happened with commercial drone operations in the United States. It got to a point where there was enough critical mass with operators like us that the FAA couldn't say well, no, we're not going to allow that. There's literally thousands of, there's demand all over the United States. So that's their hope, that it'll go the same way. And they have a chance. But when you see a guy who has never flown anything in his life, and he, an hour after seeing it for the first time, he's up there flying this, it has to be all up, 350 pounds, more than that. It's probably 450 pounds flying it. There's people, who knows? I mean, they give me shit about flying, excuse the language. The FAA gives me a hard time about flying a cinema camera, 1 mile outside of downtown Houston, which is just, it makes no sense. Closed roads, airspace alerts, everything, and they still give us a hard time. So who knows? We'll see. I mean, why are they in New Zealand? There's a reason for that. Why is Google working in, I don't even know where they are, UK or Canada or somewhere. Everybody's going elsewhere, UK. Mm-hmm. We do a lot of projects in South America and Europe just because the US government says no. So I don't know what if that'll change soon or what. But you know, we'll see.
Yeah, it is that, I suppose that is the big paradigm shift, isn't it? Is that somebody can get into something that can fly it with an hour's training, properly fly and safely, and that's where we should be thinking past. Oh, it's only a few minutes, and oh this, oh that. It's actually no. Someone comes in off the street and can fly something. Yeah. That's amazing. That is amazing. That is.
The insurance side of it too interests me because we deal with lawyers and insurance companies all day, and it's a nightmare to fly unmanned aircraft the size of this. I can't even imagine what, like, hey, Uncle Bob is going to hop in this thing and go fly. I don't know who's going to cover that liability or what it's going to cost. It's got to be incredible. Our premiums, like, we can't really say, but they're huge. We spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on insurance. So, and we're not flying people so I can't even. So anyway, all that stuff.
Well, I bet if you go to Part 107 Owner and Operators Club of America, whatever they are, there's probably an insurance that might cover. There's probably insurance products out there already.
There isn't. No, there isn't, Gary. It's a real pain in the back end to get insurance and civil liability. It's we operate with the 5 million civil liability, and it's not easy, and not all companies do it, and the insurers. You know what it is, Justin.
No, but we're talking a different thing here. We're not talking about insuring an RPAS. We're talking about insuring a Part 103 ultralight.
Yeah, no. I add to the RPAS the word plus human. If we say RPAS plus $50,000 camera, and now add to that, remove the $50,000 camera and add it plus human, the insurers will go bananas.
But we're not talking about that. We're talking about insuring an ultralight. I bet, and there's thousands of people fly ultralights in America. I bet you there's ultralight insurance policies out there. Okay, if you're commercializing, I bet the next issue would be you probably can't fly commercially a Part 103 aircraft, so you couldn't have people paying to come and fly the thing. I bet you there's something in there as well. Yeah. But I bet you there's Part 103 insurance products out there. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I'm absolutely guessing, but I bet it's not as hard as you think. But yes, it's hard for RPAS. Look, we're already. I know we started a couple of minutes late, but we're trolling up towards the hour. I wanted to get another couple of things in, and I know you two will have a reaction to this. And the first one was the fine against. I'm sorry, I'm not meaning to push you away, Justin. But
it's not. No, it's not a fine.
The proposal. Yes, it's a proposal. Yes. $2.8 million.
Yeah, who else is on the line? Because everybody and their cat was selling the same kinds of equipments.
Yeah.
So who's next in line?
Well, as you know, though, I mean, they really only have to make an example out of one of them. And a big one, and they went after a company that's guaranteed they've got good, they got a relatively deep pockets and a big bank account and probably good insurance. But it's like they did with commercial drone operators when they went after the guy in New York.
That's right. Yeah.
You hit one of them with a $1, $2, $3 million fine, and everybody kind of falls in line. But yeah, you got a great point. I mean, everybody is selling that stuff. You can buy it anywhere. You still can right now. So
yeah. And some of them advertised and sold as out of any kind of regulation anywhere in the world, because you see crazy powers. And if you go to some, as you know, if you go to some countries, the power that you can broadcast on certain frequencies is ridiculous. And
Italy is bloody. Excuse my French, is gigawatts in some things, isn't it? You can, it's some Italian HF radio stations turn off TVs in England. It's they could put out huge power outputs there. But I think what it's underlined is that people were buying this stuff and didn't actually have a clue or people are buying and using it and don't have a clue the implications of the interference they might be causing to other users, because we tend to be working in the ISM bands, industrial, scientific, and the M part. Bruce will tell me, maybe medical, is it? Medical, I think.
But Gary, we are young enough to remember the chips on the clubhouse when you were going to fly an RC plane, and you'll remove the chip with the frequency cards.
That's right. Yes, the flag and all that. Yes.
Yeah.
Justin doesn't know what we're talking about.
I do.
Yeah.
No, I've been messing with RC since I was a little kid. So I remember that, racing at my events and fly. I mean, I remember all that stuff.
So,
cool.
And the problem is when we moved to 2.4 gigahertz, we opened a can of worms. And now with 5.8, 868, 900, 433, what else? We have so many frequencies that we use on this that it gets messy, and easily messy. And what people do is just the usual solution: more power, more power.
That's right.
So
That's
if your friend says, "Hey, I got this XYZ brand radio from somewhere that can cover 2 miles," you go and buy the one that does 4 miles. So that's it. And you see that on power, crazy antenna designs, everything that can enhance that. And we opened the can of worms when we went to digital, and sometimes fake digital, like analog signaling on the RC bands.
So it's back to bang bang and reed switches then. Back to those. That's what I say. That's what I say. And the other one I wanted to talk about, which you probably both have a view on, is the new Parrot Anafi. How do we say that? I don't even know how we say that. Anafi, I think. Well, what do we think about that? It can look up.
I'm not familiar with it. How do you spell it?
Just look for new Parrot drone.
Got it.
Okay.
Wow, looks like a Mavic.
Yeah, that's it. With a Mavic with the camera that looks up.
It goes 90 up as well, so you can get under a bridge.
Yeah, but how well will it perform? Will the quality of the plastics be on par with what the competition gives? You've seen the Parrots, the other
Bebop,
one, the Bebop. Yeah. And do we think that the overall quality and feel of that is similar to a Mavic?
Here's the thing. I hate DJI. I hate DJI products. I've always had problems with DJI. I realize they're the biggest by far, but for whatever reason, I've just had terrible luck with them. Some people have bad luck with Apple products or whatever. For me, it's DJI. Everything goes wrong. I own a ton of DJI stuff. It's always a pain in the butt. But they have now completely dominated the market. I mean, they put everybody out of business. Their products are far superior in flight, obstacle avoidance, stabilization, camera quality. Their OS, everything about what they're doing is so far into the next level that no, it's not going to be able to compete at all. I don't even need to see it. Like, I'm so close-minded on this. Like, they've dominated everybody. I mean, Karma's gone, 3DR is gone, Unique is on their way out the door, and they're backed by Intel with $100 million and all this stuff. I mean, like, how do you compete with this? I think their latest valuation's like $3 billion or something. I mean, it's just like this Chinese behemoth, vertically integrated conglomerate, like, who's perfected consumer products drones. I can't believe they're even trying. Like, I'm shocked.
No, I really think that that comes up with this Parrot drone comes with the announcement of the new hotel new drone that looks like also a Mavic, and they're just shooting at they're just barking at the wrong tree, because the guest we had last week, the guys from Skydeal, those are the guys that can do something that disturbs the DJI. And
yeah, but what's going to happen is they're not going to usurp DJI. DJI is just going to buy them.
Buy them out.
Then,
yeah.
And that's a great strategy. I'd do the same thing if I was Skydio or any of the guys. Like, there's a lot of really bright guys with grand ideas, and they're executing. But I mean, they'll just get bought and put into the Phantom 6 or whatever. And it's great for consumers. It's great for everybody except, their competition. And pair it with the Bebop, which that big ridiculous controller and their FPV thing that they, that plane that they made. I feel like they're so disconnected from the market. I'm no expert on.
They had to do that plane, and there are some use cases for that plane because of the MicaSense cameras they got also acquired, right? It was MicaSense, right, Gary? That Parrot.
Sequoia, I think the Sequoia is the camera. Sequoia is the one that fits camera. In the back. Do you remember when we had them on there and we said to them, "Oh, look, that looks like that space exactly fits a Sequoia," and they went, "Oh, no," and then, hey presto, another couple of months later, out comes the Ag version, and that is going quite well, that wing for them, and that's what they've got the edge over DJI on, and that's what a lot of companies have got the edge over DJI on, is fixed wing platforms. We're going to see BV loss just around the corner. It's going to happen. It is going to happen in the next 5 years. I'm quite sure of it. And then aeroplanes suddenly will start making a lot more sense. Aeroplanes fly for 6 or 7 hours, and etc. etc. I see one person nodding, and I see Louis looking at me like I'm mad.
No, we've already discussed that. I really believe that when DJI sees fit, will enter the fixed wing market. I don't think they haven't gone into it because it does not fit. Okay, using an RC plane is fun, but requires a lot of logistics. If you're going to get that in consumers' hands, it's not a good experience that we have these days. So that experience has to come to the level of the Spark. That's the experience that and when they crack that nut, I believe we'll see DJI entering on every kind of fixed wing planes.
I'm sure they have somebody working on a VTOL wing, one of those like X-Wing or whatever. I forgot who makes that. But yeah, as soon as they get that, they marry a Phantom with a wing, and it can, it's well, set up.
Immediately you think, why don't they just supply wing add-ons? Just put them on the skid and
come on. And the Inspire goes how fast? 80 kilometers per hour. So it's almost a wing plane. So just have another channel on the radio to deploy wings, and it flies perfectly.
Bring on the transformer. Look, I'm very aware that Justin's time's very, very valuable. It's been very kind of you, and we've just gone over the hour. It's been very, very kind of you to join us and tell us about your experiences at Kizzy Hawk, and I hope we can twist your arm to come on again, because I want to hear more about that Cora. That does look very interesting.
I'll shoot me some questions, like email me after any specific questions, and I'll see about getting some answers and come back on. But yeah, any excuse to come and talk about drone nonsense and take some time away from my regular office job, then this is great.
That's very kind of you. No, thank you. And just must say in the comments, Richard says that Autel thing is coming out on June the 25th, he believes, the Autel Evo. So we shall see. So
we'll see perhaps the Phantom 5 on June the 26th.
24th. No, 24th probably. At 1 minute to midnight. It's
undercutting the new Autel by what? $200, $100. Now that's the betting that people do is how cheap will it be?
Yeah, and really it needs a big update in sensors and stuff like that. But anyway, that's for another topic. Justin's a busy chap, and so are you, Louis. Gentlemen, thanks very much. Get well soon, Bruce. See you in the comments there. Hope you're doing all right, mate. And we'll see you next week, everybody. Yeah, don't forget to join us at 2100 GMT, same place, same back channel, all those are good things. Have a lovely, safe rest of the week. And if you're flying this weekend, be safe and enjoy. See you all next week, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye. Get well, Bruce.
Yeah, cheers, Bruce.